Can't hear anything. There's no sound being up. Oh. Hmm. Yeah.
I can't hear you. I can't hear. I can't hear you.
I can hear you, Deb.
Yeah, I can't hear Skip.
Garbage in, garbage out. There you know.
Oh, okay. I can hear
Hey
you,
everyone.
Skip, now.
I have three different headsets and I have to juggle them, and they all look the same. I do have different colors on them. This one
Okay.
this one that I use for my computer has red. This one for my cell phone has blue, and then I have one in my pocket that I have to use on my old clunky Windows machine.
Listen, Skip.
Yeah,
Uh, I've got a link for you.
yeah,
Because you know how you have some symptoms with you burping and stuff.
yeah.
I think it could be um hang on, let me find the link. Yeah, because I keep up with medical stuff and
Uh-huh.
things that doctors overlook, and it I think it's called gallbladder, and it can give you indigestion as well. There's other symptoms. Anyway, just I'll post the link up, and once I find it.
Okay, well, just so you know, I
Yeah.
had surgery nearly 30 years ago now on the back of my throat, and they
Ah,
removed uh, all the extra flesh in the back of my throat, so I don't have a uvula, for example,
oh, okay.
and so that also may be an
Contributing.
issue. Yeah,
But it may not be mutually exclusive. I mean,
yeah, yeah, I know, and
uh,
I do have a doctor's appointment to discuss it, which was supposed to be this Monday, but my department chair has scheduled me for an all-day training on
mhm.
that day. So now I had to postpone it another week. So on the 13th, I think I'm going to
Okay.
see him.
Yeah,
Um,
well, it's still, I think, I mean, I'm probably being a bit, uh,
well, it's all right. I have a gravelly voice, and I know that.
that's the link. He's an excellent medico because it's always good
Okay.
to um, keep an eye out for stuff.
Yeah, sure. All right,
Uh,
let me click on that. So I've got that up. All right,
mhm.
now somebody somebody, I think it was uh, Penelope, sent me this book in PDF form, but I've not had time to um, get it lined up on my computer. So why don't you just chat for a bit, ladies, and I will see if I can find it in my mail here. Um, somewhere it's here.
Has anybody had synchronistic events in the past week? Interesting ones?
In the last week.
Last week has been like a bit crazy, actually.
Oh, well, anytime anyway. But
I've had them, but do you know, it's been one of those weeks where I haven't had time to process anything yet. Can you hear the foxes out in the garden? They're going crazy. The dog's actually going off now. Ralphie, shush.
I can hear the dog.
Yeah, there's a load of foxes in the garden, and the dog can hear them shouting at me. They're calling me to chuck food out for them.
Mhm. The foxes do.
Yeah.
But you run with the foxes, not just the wolves.
Yeah.
They have an expectation.
I had an interesting time the other day. My cat, I put her in for a surgery and she's had it. And but I was just the people at the veterinary hospital they just speak in euphemisms. And I find people do that nowadays. You can't get a clear answer out of anybody.
Yeah.
Like that, because I was saying, well, what's the cost? And they rang me back and they said it's in the upper range of the 2000s. And like, I'm just like, what does that mean? Like, I'm wanting a figure,
Yeah, they don't always know though, do they, till they've had a look? That's the trouble.
2,000 pennies or 2,000 pounds?
They won't even say, nobody will say dollars anymore because that's too confronting. And this was supposed to be the callback to tell me the figure after they've done. So, I'm meant to be satisfied. I mean, there's a whole lot of other things I won't bore you with, but I was just in this shopping center, and just generally I'm finding people are being quite confrontational and rude. And there was this man, and he was ordering me around. You have to go and queue up over there. And it was like, there was nobody waiting. There's nobody waiting. So why are you telling me to queue up? I mean, it's just kind of madness, It's like, anyway, I decided to do a little survey. So there were people wandering around in the shopping center, and I was looking for somebody to ask to do a reality check. And then I saw these two women coming, and they had the most beautiful animated faces. I mean, they're sort of like retired age, And I said, excuse me, do you think that the standard of behavior of people is declining? And they said, oh, yes, and they're like telling me all about it. And we just fell into conversation, and they invited me to have lunch with them and go to the movies. And but it turns out that they've got, one of them is called Carol, and the other one, her name is Lauren, but it's German, and it's written Lorac, and that's like spelling the word Carol in reverse.
Oh, I see.
And I said to them, when I first met them, I said, you've been friends for a long time, haven't you? And they said, yeah, we have, like decades. And I could just tell. And they and they just had a deep, and because their job is to assess teachers, like they do assessments. And I said, well, you're used to summing up people really rapidly. And they said, yeah, we are, and it was just, I said, well, have you heard of meaningful chance and synchronicity? Because I said, I picked you people out of all the crowd, and you've turned out to be, perfect to have a
Yeah.
chat, because I was filling in a couple of hours, but I couldn't. And they showed me on a piece of paper the name, and it's a mirror. There's a word for that when
Yeah,
when
it's a palimpsest or something.
yeah, I can't remember, but I just thought it was. I said, "Have you heard of meaningful chance and synchronicity or Carl Jung?" They said no. So I said, "Okay, next time, because we're going to talk." But the other thing that I thought is happening that's really interesting is the solar flares that are happening, and the comet and all
Yeah,
this sort of stuff.
right.
And we're getting all this activity, seismic activity and earthquakes and stuff. There was one in the Philippines.
Oh yeah, a couple of days ago,
But I'm finding that, and there's a
6.9.
lot of electromagnetic impulses coming from the sun. I used to think this was a load of hooey, but it's like it actually affects people. I'm finding I'm not sleeping that well, but it's okay. I'm kind of revved up.
Why I learned to take a lot of ibuprofen, which our president doesn't want you to take, but or Tylenol,
Ibuprofen.
acetaminophen.
Oh, like a paracetamol.
Yeah, it's called Tylenol.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
Let's see. Mary says, "Hi all. My internet connection is very weak here in Sicily, so I have my camera and my microphone switched off." Okay, fine. That's fine, Mary. Nice to see you there. Nice to have you here with us, though. Um, and nice drawing, Merritt. I like the little yellow bird. Okay, well, I am ready. I do have the PDF, thanks to Penelope, on my screen, and so I can share it with you. And so I will do. And my wife has told me I have to cut it off at 6:30 tonight, because I'm a little tired. Last night, I don't, none of you probably know, but the women's National Basketball Association is having its tournament right now, and the team that we follow is that of a woman named Caitlin Clark, who was a phenom in college, and she was the #1 draft pick 2 years ago. And then this year, she was playing, and they selected her to be captain of one of the all-star teams. And right then she got injured, and she hasn't played at all since then. And so her team and then her teammates had a lot of other injuries. And still, the coach was able to pull it together until last night was the semifinals. So that this is 4 teams still active out of, I don't know how many, 16 or something. And 4 teams still active. They were playing for the right to play in the finals, 1 team on each side, right? But so they were in the semifinals, and they played to an 86-86 tie at the end of standard play last night. And then they went into a 5-minute overtime, and the Indiana Fever, which is the team we follow, lost. And so they're not going to be in the finals this year. But this is after they had so many injuries, including the injury of their big star. and several other big stars too. And still, they managed to finish in third, fourth place, depending on how you count it. So, but that ended at 1 a.m. And then I had to be at school at 8 this morning. So, anyway, here we are. And I will share my screen. Oh, I have to admit Diane. Okay. There's Diane. Hi, Diane. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. And okay, can everybody see that fine? I expanded a bit. So we finished what we were reading. We finished this paragraph. She canalizes through women. And so anyway, she canalizes through women. If they are suppressed, she struggles upward. If women are free, she is free. Fortunately, no matter how many times she is pushed down, she bounds up again. No matter how many times she is forbidden, quelled, cut back, diluted, tortured, touted as unsafe, dangerous, mad, or other derogations, she emanates upward in women, so that even the most quiet, even the most restrained woman keeps a secret place for her. Even the most repressed woman has a secret life with the secret thoughts and secret feelings, which are lush and wild. That is natural. Even the most captured woman guards the place of the wildish self, for she knows intuitively that someday there will be a loophole, an aperture, a chance, and she will hightail it to escape. Okay, now there is a synchronicity with this, and Deborah, and that is that I don't know if you heard the news, but yesterday our president decided he was going to have a confab with all the top admirals and generals in the world. So he made all these flag grade officers, about 2,000 of them, including their aides, had to come to Virginia, to Quantico, Virginia, the Marine Corps base there, to hear a pep talk from Pete Hegseth, the defense secretary, and Donald Trump. And it was just awful. And one of the things that they said was that they're going to set the physical fitness tests to be the highest male physical fitness. So women can participate, but only if they can pass the male tests, which is really uncalled for. And you know, we have women we've had women at the Naval Academy since 1976, so 50 years. And you know, I would be surprised that even a graduating senior at the Naval Academy, a woman, would be able to pass the physical fitness test that men have to pass. So women are being suppressed by this Trumpian administration now again, and the women haven't responded yet, and the men who serve with them haven't responded yet. But I mean, because he just sat all these people down in this huge auditorium and just talked at them for over 2 hours between the two of them. It's just crazy. And you know, having lived my life in that world, I know this was not well taken. Okay, I mean, they showed scenes of the officers that were sitting there and they were fuming. And Trump has no idea what he's let loose here, because it's just can't be what he's proposing. He's proposing to use U.S. cities as a training ground for attacking foreign cities. You got that?
Oh.
U.S. cities as a training ground for attacking foreign cities. Now, we do have city-like training sites that, you know, are built up, where people train in, you know, house-to-house combat and apartment-to-apartment combat, but they aren't actual cities. They're just structures that we've built for training purposes. So now he's proposing to use our cities for training, and I can't imagine this is going over well in the officer corps.
So, Skip, what I heard, and I thought it must be fake news, I saw the picture of this meeting with all the admirals and all the army brass all sitting there listening to Trump. And what I heard was that Trump was, in that message that he was giving them, he was letting them know that this, I don't know about the Fifth Amendment or American law, because it's very different. It's based on Senate and like Roman law, I think, whereas English law is based on common law. So it's very different.
No, American law is based on common law. We go
Oh,
back to the Magna Carta
okay.
too.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that.
Well, except for Louisiana.
Okay.
Louisiana is a French state, so it's
Okay.
um,
So what I'd heard was that he was telling the army that they may need to um, act on American people.
yeah,
So that's what came out here, that it was about, and there's something written into American law, they said, that
yeah,
the
posse
army is there to
comitatus.
protect the country against foreign or somebody that was trying to harm the country from within. And he's trying to use that to, in case there should be an uprising within the country.
Yeah,
Does
well,
I thought that was probably fake news, but
no, there. I mean, we have a law called posse comitatus. Um, it says that the U.S. Armed Forces may not be used against the American people.
yeah.
Okay, and we all swear an oath to that. And we have, you know, we have people that are FBI or whoever to do things within the continental US to maintain law and order, but we never plan and we don't train for, um, you know, attacking our own people.
Well, that's called civil war, isn't it? That's usually civil war.
Yeah, and oh, by the way, we have 450 million cigarette or not cigarettes, guns in the United States in private hands. 450 million. That's more than we have people, and by quite a margin. Okay, by 100 million. And so guns are everywhere in this country. And we have a huge problem with it. I mean, we've had over 325 shootings involving more than 3 people this year. Okay, that was the news last week.
It's increasingly looking like it's going to go. It's all going to go. I mean, since the start of this year, we've now got Putin as recruiting massively into his army. For
Yeah,
hundreds and thousands of recruits he's taking on extra. He's denying that he reckons these drones are not his. Uh, And I'm just thinking that it's escalating now to a point where it's actually how it felt during the Cold War. Um,
Well, it's worse than that.
I think you might be right.
Yeah, it's worse than the Cold War.
And that they're going to stick Tony Blair in the Middle East as some kind of viceroy is the most disgusting thing I've heard ever. Everybody in the UK that I speak to want him up in front of a court for war crimes.
Right.
Because
And
he's disgusting, man, despicable.
and Netanyahu. But let's go on with our reading.
Sorry, yeah, I need to let go of it. It's been a tough old
Yeah,
week.
but I mean, I was mainly wanting to talk about what we're doing to women in this administration.
Yeah. Well,
Okay, so here's where we're going to continue.
Brett Atwood.
So I believe that all women and men are born gifted. However, and truly, there has been little to describe the psychological lives and ways of gifted women, talented women, creative women. There is, on the other hand, much writ about the weaknesses and foibles of humans in general and women in particular. But in the case of the wild woman archetype, in order to fathom her, must be in order to fathom her, apprehend her, utilize her offerings, we must be more interested in the thoughts, feelings, and endeavors which strengthen women and adequately count the interior and cultural factors which weaken women. In general, when we understand the wildish nature as a being in its own right, one which animates and informs a woman's deepest life, then we can begin to develop in ways never thought possible a psychology which fails to address this innate spiritual being at the center of feminine psychology fails women and fails their daughters and their daughters' daughters far into the future matrilineal lines. So in order to apply a good medicine to the hurt parts of the wildish psyche, in order to right relationships, the archetype of the wiki woman, who has to name the disarrays of the psyche accurately. While in my clinical profession, we do have a good diagnostic statistical manual and a goodly amount of differential diagnoses, as well as psychoanalytic parameters, which define psychopathy, through the organization or lack of it in the objective psyche and the ego self-axis. There are yet other defining behaviors and feelings which, for a woman's frame of reference, powerfully describe what is the matter. As I was reading that, I was thinking of Colleen's last big meeting up in Mount Madonna. This was after the one that I heavily sponsored. And Diane, did you go to that last December or early January?
No, I did not.
Okay, because Penelope did, and I had told Colleen, do not allow any men to come to this event. She got a huge number of women. She got like 46 women that signed up to come, like the 1st to the 4th of January, which I thought was incredible. But she did allow one man in, which I didn't think was the right thing. I thought that she should have, focused on this instinctual stuff from a true woman's point of view. Any thoughts about any of this?
I was looking for the footnote, but I didn't see in my copy footnotes. I heard
Yeah.
I did see that somewhere she talked about on a YouTube or something about how her footnotes were a whole story unto themselves, but
Well, that I believe.
I don't see footnotes in my copy here.
Yeah, let me look in the back and see if there are any. Yeah, there are notes in the back.
Okay, I guess, yeah, notes, where it says notes, not footnotes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, at the end of the intro. Is it? No.
Because there's a footnote too here. Where is it? It's where it's talking about what women would have to say about what's wrong with the the diagnostic thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I could read the entire note here that
Yeah.
that is here for the introduction.
And then go into footnote 2 maybe. 2. Because that's what I was interested in.
Okay, well, let me, because all the footnotes are not very long after footnote 2, but let me read it.
But footnote 1 is quite long if you want to read that one.
Yeah.
I haven't read it yet. I don't know.
Yeah, I will read it now. Okay, sometimes endnotes such as these are called los cuentitos, little stories. They're the offspring of the larger text and are meant to be a separate work of art in and of themselves. They are meant to be read straight through, if one wishes, without referring back to the larger text. I invite you to read them both ways. Okay, so this introduction doesn't have a very long one. So footnote 1 or note 1. The language of storytelling and poetry is the powerful sister of the dream language. From the analysis of many dreams, both contemporary and ancient ones, taken from written accounts over the years, as well as sacred texts and works of mystics such as Catherine of Siena, Francis of Assisi, Rumi, and Eckhart, and the work of many poets such as Dickinson, Millay, Whitman, and so on, there appears to be within the psyche a poetry making and art making function that arises when a person spontaneously or purposely ventures near the instinctive core of the psyche. This place in the psyche where the dreams, stories, poetry, and art meet constitutes the mysterious habitat of the instinctual or wild nature. In contemporary dreams and poetry, and in the older folk tales and writings of mystics, the entire milieu of the core is understood as a being with a life of its own. It is most often symbolized in poetry, painting, dance, and dreams as either one of the vast elements, such as ocean, vault of sky, loam of earth, or as power with personhood, such as Queen of Heaven, the white doe, the friend, the beloved, the lover, the mate. From the core, numinous matters and ideas rise up through the person who experiences being filled by something not I. Also, many artists carry their own ideas and matters born of ego to the edge of the core and drop them in, sensing rightfully that they will be returned newly infused or washed with the core's remarkable psychic sense of life. Either way, this causes a sudden and profound awakening, changing or informing of the senses, mood, or heart of the human. When one is freshly informed, one's mood is changed. When one's mood is changed, one's heart is changed. That is why the images and language that arise from the core are so important. In combination, they have the power to change one thing into another in a way that is difficult and tortuous to accomplish by will alone. In this sense, the core self, the instinctual self, is both healer and life bringer. Okay, so that's note one. And toward the end of that, she sounds a bit like, and she is a Jungian analyst, but she sounds a bit like she's talking about alchemy, which is the way Jung decided to put it in his arcane way. Footnote 2, or note 2, ego/self axis is a phrase coined by Edward Ferdinand Edinger, Ego and Archetype, Penguin 1971, to describe Jung's view of the ego and self as being a contemporary relationship, each, the mover and the moved, needing one another to function. And references to Jung's collected works, volume 11, second edition, paragraph 39. Okay, so, well, I have read Ego and Archetype, and it's a very, very powerful book. If you've not read Edinger's Ego and Archetype, I urge you to get yourself a copy and read it. And you'd probably prefer to have it in hard copy because he has a series of diagrams in it that are useful. And once you realize that you're working with this axis, the ego self axis that he talks about, you can't go back. Okay, and that's basically the lesson of my painting, among other things, that I paint every day almost without fail. Even if I have no time in the morning, I'll spend 10 or 15 minutes painting, just because it opens up that axis for me. And so then footnote 3 is nothing special. It says the story as medicine. And obviously that's what all psychology is the talking cure at a certain level. And then in footnote 4, she's referring to El Duende. I think that means something like wind. El Duende is literally the goblin wind, or the force behind a person's actions and creative life, including the way they walk, the sound of their voice, even the way they lift their little finger. It is a term used in flamenco dance, and it is also used to describe the ability to think in poetic images. Among Latina storytellers, it is understood as the ability to be filled with spirit that is more than one's own spirit. Whether you are the artist or whether you are the watcher, listener, or reader, when El Duende is present, you see it, hear it, read it, feel it underneath the dance, the music, the words, the art. You know it is there. When El Duende is not present, you know that too. So, to me, this refers also to what happens to me in any one of these sessions that we do, because after we're finished, I never can remember what we talked about. I just cannot. Okay, so as soon as I start talking with any of you, I immediately enter into an unconscious and internal space. when we're talking in these sessions, I'm talking from the internal space, not from my everyday, retired Marine Lieutenant Colonel ego life. Okay. That in some ways supports me in school. Not much, because the kids don't respect it much. They don't know what it means. And so they don't they don't appreciate what they have in front of them. Okay, so then she's got the footnote on Vasilisa. Vasilisa is an anglicized version of the Russian name Vasilisa. In Europe, the W is pronounced as V. And then the sixth note, one of the most critical cornerstones in developing a body of study about the psychology of women is that women themselves observe and describe what takes place in their own lives. A woman's ethnic affiliations, her race, her religious practices, her values are all of a piece and must all be taken into account, for together they constitute her soul sense. Okay. So not everybody's the same. We all come from different things. Okay, we have this on the screen. Does anybody remember where we stopped reading?
What are some of the feeling tone symptoms is the next one.
Okay, do you want to read that, Diane?
I'm going to read from my book because
Yeah.
What are some of the feeling tone symptoms of a disrupted relationship with the wildish force in the psyche? To chronically feel, think, or act in any of the following ways is to have partially severed or lost entirely the relationship with the deep instinctual psyche. Using women's language exclusively, these are feeling extraordinarily dry, fatigued, frail, depressed, confused, gagged, muzzled, unaroused, feeling frightened, halt, or weak, without inspiration, without animation, without soulfulness, without meaning, shame bearing, chronically fuming, volatile, stuck, uncreative, compressed, crazed, feeling powerless, chronically doubtful, shaky, blocked, unable to follow through, giving one's creative life over to others, life sapping choices in mates, work, or friendships, suffering to live outside one's own cycles, overprotective of self, inert, uncertain, faltering, inability to pace oneself or set limits, not insistent on one's own tempo, to be self conscious, to be away from God or gods, to be separated from one's revivification, drawn far into domesticity, intellectualism, work, or inertia, because that is the safest place for one who has lost her instincts. To fear to venture by oneself or to reveal oneself, fear to seek mentor, mother, father, fear to set out imperfect work before it is an opus, fear to set out on a journey, fear of caring for another or others, fear one will run on, run out, run down, cringing before authority, loss of energy before creative projects, wincing humiliation, angst, numbness, anxiety, afraid to bite back when there is nothing else left to do, afraid to try the new, fear to stand up to, afraid to speak up, speak against, sick stomach, butterflies, sour stomach, cut in the middle, strangle, becoming conciliatory are nice too easily. Revenge. Afraid to stop, afraid to act, repeatedly counting to three and not beginning. Superiority complex, ambivalence, and yet otherwise fully capable, fully functioning. These sentences are disease not of an era or a century, but become an epidemic anywhere and anytime women are captured, anytime the wildish nature has become entrapped.
Okay.
Anyone want to comment?
Well, yeah, just tell me where we are because this PDF bounced around a little on me and I lost my place.
Oh,
What is the first word of the first words of the next sentence?
a healthy woman is much
Okay.
like a wolf.
Okay, a healthy woman. Let me see if I can find that.
So I've got it at the top of page 11 on my copy.
Me too, but
So,
Yeah, but it's not quite the same in this.
okay, that's 12.
Oh, shoot.
we'll go up to 11 and let's see.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I guess I caused the problem.
No,
From my
but
book.
The word
no,
afraid is in
Yes, it's jumps
two
around.
sentences above that. So if you look for afraid twice,
where are you?
I'm
Say it
saying,
again.
No, it begins a healthy woman.
yeah, but afraid is the two sentences above that. So it's visually easy to find that. Afraid.
Yeah, you're right. Two paragraphs say afraid.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I was
shoot.
looking.
Darn it.
We haven't read this bit, I don't think.
Okay, we haven't read that yet.
Maybe it's because the script is bigger. That's why.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, maybe.
Keep going.
Have we?
What the heck?
Oh, jeez.
No.
Okay, wildlife and wild women are endangered species singing over the bones.
That's the very beginning of
That's
it.
the very
The very
beginning.
beginning.
So we're about 8 pages in from that. So if you can
Okay,
on my one, so keep going.
keep going.
Yes, right. Now slow down a bit because you're close. Yeah, is these fleet in? See if I can find that.
Keep going, yeah.
Hi, Penelope. We're just figuring out where we were.
You haven't started yet.
Yeah,
Well, no, we've started, but
we haven't read that bit.
the PDF bounced on us, and
Yes, we have. We already read that.
Have we read that bit?
Yeah.
yeah,
No.
wild woman
Oh,
is the
yeah,
health.
we've
Getting
read this
closer,
bit.
getting closer, keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here we come. We're getting close to it now.
Okay.
Afraid to
There's
bite
the
back.
afraid.
There, a healthy
Where is
woman
it?
at the
Yeah.
bottom of the page. That's where we
Healthy woman is much like a wolf.
Yep.
That's
There you
the-
go.
Oh, afraid. I see.
Yeah.
So that was all just a list of all of those ways that, to feel not alienated from our instinct. That's what mainly what I just read was just all those ways.
Mm-hmm.
And I can certainly relate to a lot of that at different times for sure. I think particularly at this moment,
Yeah.
it all feels,
Yeah.
yeah. Anybody else
feel-
want to say something
I
about
feel it's about loss of power too, being
Yes.
disempowered.
Mhm.
One thing I wanted to add to what Skip was saying about the women in the military and is that women are very powerful. Men are physically strong from the shoulders. Women are very strong from the hip and legs.
Mm-hmm.
And we also have very high pain thresholds as well.
Yeah.
Like,
as well as other qualities too.
Yeah, and I
yeah, I'm
mean,
just talking in that context of
The physicality, yeah.
We
yeah,
don't have
Yeah.
to compare ourselves with men anyway. We don't have to compare ourselves with men, and we certainly don't have to rise to this.
yeah. I mean, he was just showing his ignorance yesterday because, you know,
Yeah.
when we're in combat in the Middle East, we have to have women in, you know, the Marine Corps has to have women embedded in the ranks because they run into Muslim women. And if they can't, you know, a Muslim woman would probably like to kill herself rather than be searched by an American man. You know, that just isn't a thing. And so you have to have women with, you know, in the combat formation, or you're in real trouble.
You're kind of trying to rationalize this as if there is a logical argument for it, and there isn't. There's no logic here. I think
Yeah.
this person is just, this is like Margaret Atwood's nightmare. This
Yeah.
person is just trying how far he can go before people will rise up, I think. How much
Exactly. Yeah.
That's why they're putting the training in the cities, the real cities, because that's what they're preparing for.
They're preparing
Yeah.
for a civil war. That's what it is, Diane, and you're right. That's
Yes.
why it's in the cities. They want the army already there in the place where they're going to need it. And that's what I read, and I thought, no, that can't be true. It must be fake news. But I don't think it is.
Well,
Well,
it's not going to work, okay? Because first of all, although the American military has been infested since, you know, for 20 years by MAGA type people, or actually longer than that, since they canceled the draft, what the people that they have been able to recruit have been lower quality, people that couldn't get jobs elsewhere, so they end up in the military. And with one exception, and that's the Marine Corps, because the Marine Corps does not accept anybody that's not got a high school diploma. But when we had the draft, we got a broad spectrum of people from the society, but it's like a family. You have smart ones and dumb ones, but you don't tend to have people that are acting up. And
At
so
that time, you didn't have very many women, though, did you?
yeah, there were no women, essentially no women around. I mean, there were women Marines even when I was just starting in OCS, but not many, not many.
So why don't we read about what
A healthy woman.
what that might offer to, you know, a
Right.
combat situation versus, you know, not just the, you know, being physically stronger, but what else it offers too, as
Yeah.
well as the physical.
well, the intelligence services, like one of those two women I met the other day, my grandfather was in British intelligence and my grandmother was in the French resistance. They were separated in the war. But when they were recruiting for Bletchley Park for code crackers, they put advertisements in the papers to solve
women.
for
Those
problem
code crackers,
solving.
most of them were women in the Second World War. They were
Yeah,
mainly
it was women who went into Bletchley Park, but the way they recruited them was to set up problems, solve problems that if you can crack this, solve this problem. And it was overwhelmingly women who were cracking the problems and
in
getting.
Good at it.
psychology, they always say there's more difference within the genders than there is between. there are more differences between us as individual people than there are between men and women. We are
Mhm.
not that different.
Okay, I just thought that was
I
interesting.
think it's a power. It's always about power. We just read Clarissa saying that when you beat people and push them down, they'll find a crack.
Yeah, and they'll bubble up.
And in my experience, the more you push people down, and that's what's happening now, they will make us stronger.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
we're building it. This is why I stopped mourning, because we're building a new world now, and it's happening. It's happening.
And the more you oppress people, the stronger you make them.
Yeah, and these generals and admirals, they have seen it all for 40 or 50 years, and ultimately they're not going to stand for it, for these guys. Trump never served. Hegseth only served a captain in the army.
Yeah, they're not commanding enormous respect within the ranks, that's for sure.
No, none at all.
But
really nice though, because it really goes along with what we're reading. Because a lot of this is about oppression, and she's talking about what happens, how we respond to that.
Precisely.
As
All right. So
survivors.
let's press on. So a healthy woman is much like a wolf. Robust, chock full, strong life force, life-giving, territorially aware, inventive, loyal, roving. Yet separation from the wildish nature causes a woman's personality to become meager, thin, ghosty, spectral. We are not meant to be puny with frail hair and inability to leap up, inability to chase, to birth, to create a life. When women's lives are in stasis or filled with ennui, it is always time for the wildish woman to emerge. It is time for the creative function of the psyche to flood the delta. How does wild woman affect women? With her as ally, as leader, model, teacher, we see not through her two eyes, but through the eyes of intuition, which is many-eyed. When we assert intuition, we are therefore like the starry night. We gaze at the world through 1,000 eyes. The wild nature carries the bundles of healing. She carries everything a woman needs to be and know. She carries the medicine for all things. She carries stories and dreams and words and songs and signs and symbols. She is both vehicle and destination. To adjoin the instinctual nature does not mean to come undone, change everything from left to right, from black to white, to move the east to west, to act crazy or out of control. It does not mean to lose one's primary socializations or to become less human. It means quite the opposite. The wild nature has a vast integrity to it. It means to establish territory, to find one's pack, to be in one's body with certainty and pride, regardless of the body's gifts and limitations, to speak and act in one's behalf, to be aware, alert, to draw on the intimate feminine powers of intuition and sensing, to come into one's cycles, to find what one belongs to rise with dignity, to retain as much consciousness as possible. The archetype of the wild woman and all that stands behind her is patroness to all painters, writers, sculptors, dancers, thinkers, prayer makers, seekers, finders, for they are all busy with the work of invention, and that is the instinctual nature's main occupation. As in all art, she resides in the guts, not in the head. She can track and run and summon and repel. She can sense, camouflage, and love deeply. She is intuitive, typical, and normative. She is utterly essential to women's mental and soul health. So what compromises the wild woman? From the viewpoint of archetypal psychology, as well as in ancient traditions, she is the female soul. Yet she is more. She is the source of the feminine. She is all that is of instinct, of the worlds both seen and hidden. She is the basis. We each receive from he a glowing cell which contains all the instincts and knowings needed for our lives. She is the life, death, life force. She is the incubator. She is intuition. She is farseer. She is deep listener. She is loyal heart. She encourages humans to remain multilingual, fluent in the languages of dreams, passion, and poetry. She whispers from night dreams. She leaves behind on the terrain of a woman's soul a coarse hair and muddy footprints. These fill women with longing to find her, free her, and love her. She is ideas, feelings, urges, and memories. She has been lost and half forgotten for a long, long time. She is the source, the light, the night, the dark, and the day and daybreak. She is the smell of good mud in the back leg of the fox. The birds which tell us secrets belong to her. She is the voice that says, this way, this way. She is the one who thunders after injustice. She is the one who turns like a great wheel. She is the maker of cycles. She is the one we leave home to look for. She is the woman we come home to. She is the mucky root of all women. She is the things that keep us going when we think we're done for. She is the incubator of raw little ideas and deals. She is the mind that thinks us. We are the thoughts she thinks. Where is she present? Where can you feel her? Where can you find her? She walks the deserts, woods, oceans, cities, in the barrios, in the castles. She lives among queens, among campesinas, in the boardroom, in the factory, in the prison, in the mountain of solitude. She lives in the ghetto, at the university, and in the streets. She leaves footprints for us to try for size. She leaves footprints wherever there is one woman who is fertile soil. Where does she live? At the bottom of the well, in the headwaters, in the ether before time. She lives in the tear and in the ocean. She lives in the cambia trees, which pings as it grows. She is from the future and from the beginning of time. She lives in the past and is summoned by us. She is in the present and keeps a chair at our table, stands behind us in line, and drives ahead of us on the road. She is in the future and walks backward in time to find us now. She lives in the green poking through snow. She lives in the rustling stalks of dying autumn. She lives where the dead come to be kissed and the living send their prayers. She lives in the place where language is made. She lives on poetry and percussion and singing. She lives on quarter notes and grace notes, and in a cantata, in a sestina, and in the blues. She is the moment just before inspiration bursts upon us. She lives in a faraway place and breaks through to our world. People may ask for evidence, for proof of her existence. They are essentially asking for proof of the psyche. Since we are the psyche, we are also the evidence. Each and every one of us is the evidence of not only Wild Woman's existence, but of her condition in the collective. We are the proof of this ineffable female Newman. Our existence parallels hers. Our experiences of her within and without are the proofs. Our thousands and millions of encounters with her intrapsychically through our night dreams and our day thoughts, through our yearnings and inspirations. These are the verifications. The fact that we are bereft in her absence, that we long and yearn when we are separated from her. These are the manifestations that she has passed this way. Okay, the reason I'm getting choked up is because this is very clearly defining my mother and her way of being in the world. We laughingly say she was a force of nature. She surely was that. And she had a small regret that she never had the opportunity to go to college. She did go for a couple of semesters, I guess, including when I was growing up. But she never backed down. And when my brother was dying after 3 liver transplants, and my parents had spent 3 months at the hospital in Pittsburgh, Presbyterian Hospital in Pittsburgh, and I figured out that they had gone up and down the elevators the equivalent of 14 miles in their visits to my brother, who finally died after 3 liver transplants and 12 other major operations in 3 months. And the night he died, we went out to dinner together, my sister and my parents and I, and Debbie. And my mother said very emphatically, "We are triumphant." We are triumphant. And that's absolutely the way she lived her life, in triumph. Yeah. And I see her all through this passage that I just read. So, and I'm never separated from her. She says, when we are separated from her, I'm never separated from her. She's still with me, absolutely. She hasn't changed one bit. But the fact of her death, not a bit. And, that's an important truth that we all need to know, that our loved ones don't die. Their body may stop going on, but they live within us. And certainly my brother, my father, my mother, all live within me and haven't changed one iota since their death. Not an iota. So, okay, that was a very emotional passage for me, so I'm going to take a breath, but go ahead and sit.
You know what, Skip? I've got a vision in my head of you telling me about your mum. You spoke about her one week that she put all the kids in the car, packed up the car, and just drove to Alaska.
Well, she drove to Seattle, and then we got on a ship to Kodiak.
What a woman!
And she was 25 years old when she did that.
Gosh.
And I was 5, and my sister was 9 months old. My brother was 3. And she
And
just,
I had that picture in my head when you described it. I thought, God, what a woman.
yeah, I mean, I've told this story before, but I'll tell it once more. We were driving through probably Montana, and she was washing my sister's diapers in the sink in the evenings because we didn't have paper diapers in those days. We only had cloth diapers, and she was having to wash them every night. And so in the morning, she had a wad of wet diapers. And so she had me holding them out the car window to dry as we're driving along at probably about 50 miles an hour in those days. And one time I got this wild idea. I wonder what would happen if I just let go of the diaper. And of course, when I let go of the diaper, the thing goes, it's gone. And I said, "Mom, stop the car." And she just laughed looked down at me and laughed uproariously. And I looked up at her in that moment, and I knew I was in the car with the goddess.
Oh, God, you're going to have me blubbering there as well.
But, I didn't know what that Newman was then. But as I've studied Jung, I can look back on that moment and know that's what it was. I realized I was in the car with a goddess. And go ahead.
Can I tell you a story about my grandmother who was in the resistance in occupied France, and she lived in fear of being denounced. And she had a feeling she was going to need to leave the village that they were in. Because when 30% of French people were collaborators, and they would denounce you, and then they would get a reward. And people would do that because they were starving or whatever,
Yeah, sure.
Prices were low. So only 2% were in the resistance. Anyway, she put the children to bed that night, intending to leave in the morning. And she wrapped up a glass bottle filled with hot water, and she wrapped the glass bottle with rag because they didn't have any rubber hot water bottle, we call it water bottle, but it's and she put it in the bed, and the glass broke and it smashed, and there was all this broken glass and hot water and kids' legs and blah blah blah. And she wrapped everything up and she said, "Right, we're going now." And they left at 3 a.m. The Gestapo were at the door at 5 a.m. And it occurred to me as I told that story, because I'm online a lot, it's the night of the broken glass. It's crystal night for her. You know what I mean by crystal night?
Yeah, of course. Of course, that was in 1938, that event.
That's it. But this was 41, but still, it was...
For her, it was the equivalent.
For her, it was the crystal night.
Yeah.
But to have the intuition to sense that she was going to be denounced, to sense that
she had to leave that night. Yeah.
We're going now. I mean, I feel a chill when I speak of it. And the hairs on the back of my neck used to stand on end when she'd tell me the stories of escaping the Gestapo and infiltrating Gestapo headquarters. She did so many amazing things. And to
Yeah.
look at her, she's just this very ordinary looking woman, you know?
Yeah.
But she
I
had
had
a fire
an
within her,
I had
which
an
you're
interview
describing.
once. Yeah, I had an interview once with the CIA, and and they said, well, to start, you'll have to go to for 10 months to a covert training base. And I knew it was in Hampton, Virginia. And they you have to go to Virginia Hall for training. And it was only in the last couple of years when I saw a call to spy when I knew what Virginia Hall means. Virginia Hall is the name of the woman who was an operative in France for several years during the German occupation. She had a wooden leg. She had lost her leg, and so she was smuggling things in her wooden leg, and ultimately she was executed by the Nazis. She and another, yeah, a British Asian Indian woman who was also a spy. They were executed, but to this day, they call where they trained the CIA operatives go to Virginia Hall.
You know when
women have worked in and continued to, from ancient times.
Oh, yeah.
And there have been women warriors and leaders from ancient times as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, surely.
Yeah, Bodashia.
I think we should read on.
Well, it's 20 after 6, and I have to tell you, let's see, we're on page 17. Let me see.
Okay, then maybe it's a good stopping.
All right, I'll tell you what, let's do one more segment. It's not very long. And then the next time there's a break like this. So you want to read, Diane, from my doctorate?
Okay. My doctorate is in ethnoclinical psychology, which is the study of both clinical psychology and ethnology, the latter emphasizing the study of psychology of groups and tribes in particular. My postdoctoral diploma is in analytical psychology, which is what certifies me as a Jungian psychoanalyst. My life experience as cantadora messamondo, poet and artist, informs my work with Anna Sands equally. Sometimes I'm asked to tell what I do in my counseling room to help women return to their wildish natures. I place substantial emphasis on clinical and developmental psychology, and I use the simplest and most accessible ingredient for healing: stories. We follow the patient's dream material, which contains many plots and stories. The analysan's physical sensations and body memories are also stones which can be read and rendered into consciousness. Additionally, I teach a form of powerful interactive trancing that is proximate to Jung's active imagination. And this also produces stones which further elucidate the client's psychic journey. We elicit the wildish self through specific questions and through examining tales, legends, and mythos. Most times we're able to, over time, to find the guiding myth or fairy tale that contains all the instruction a woman needs for her current psychic development. These stories comprise a woman's soul drama. It is like a play with stage instructions, characterization, and props. The craft of making is an important part of the work I do. I seek to empower my clients by teaching them the age-old crafts of the hands, among them the symbolic arts of talisman making, las ofrendas, and retablos. These being anything from simple ribbon sticks to elaborate sculpture. Art is important, for it commemorates the seasons of the soul or a special or tragic event in the soul's journey. Art is not just for oneself, not just a marker of one's own understanding. It is also a map for those who follow after us. As you might imagine, work with each person is customized in the extreme, for it is true that people are made one to a kind. But these factors remain constant in my work with people, and these are something wrong here.
Tile fundament for all humans work before them
I
today.
don't know what that means. Tile
A
fundament.
lot of misprints in this.
Yeah, I
I
think
think
so.
what they've done is scanned it and then they haven't proofread, because
Yeah.
earlier on there was
Said
another
he instead of her. I mean, that was the
Yeah.
big one there.
Stories.
Yeah.
yeah, but it was also what compromises the woman, and it meant what comprises,
Yeah.
because it then went on to explain what is meant by this woman. I'm going to make a list of these things because it offends me. As
Yeah.
I've done
Okay.
proofreading.
In the printed book, it just is, and these, and the fundament, and these are the fundament for all humans' work.
Yeah.
Right.
And these are the fundament for all humans' work.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's
tile.
yeah.
Yeah.
These are so that is the tile is just the
Yeah.
Well, what
Okay.
they've done
Let me
is that they've
finish because
scanned
we're
it.
almost finished with this
Yeah.
section. Let's just finish this. The craft of questions, the craft of stories, craft of the hands, all these are the making of something, and that something is soul. Anytime we feed soul, it guarantees increase. I hope you will see that these are tangible ways to soften old scar tissue, balm old wounds, and envision anew, thereby restoring the old skills that make the soul visible in down to earth ways. The tales I bring here to elucidate the instinctual nature of women are in some cases original stories, and in other cases are distinct literary renderings that I have written based on the peculiar ones given to my keeping by my tias y tios, abuelitas and abuelos, almost for as far back as we can remember. A few are written documents of my own first-hand encounters, some from long time passing, and all from the heart. They are presented in all faithful detail and archetypal integrity. It is with the permission and blessing of 3 living generations of familial healer-tailors who understand the subtleties and requirements of story as healing phenomena that I canny these forward. Additionally, here are some of the questions I pose to my analysands and others to whom I offer counsel in order for them to remember themselves. I also detail for you some of the craft, the experiential and artful play that assists women in retaining the numen of their work in conscious memory. All these help to bring about convergence with the precious wildish self. Storytelling is so important
Truly.
to psyche. It brings up the unconscious, the archetypes. It's so important.
Yep.
Can I
Oh,
just say
Stories
that
are
when
medicine.
told that story about my grandmother, I mean, she saved her life and the life of her children and the life also of anybody, because when they captured you, they tortured you. So this is quite an emotional moment for me to tell you that story. And I wanted to say about that, about the continuity in my family, because Skip was talking about how his mother is still with him. And I feel that very much about my grandmother, and the ability to connect with the intuition, and with also, I can hear her voice with me sometimes. So I'm not saying this to impress anybody or to try to top anybody's story or to take attention away. I felt very emotional when I said it, and I want you to know that.
Thank you. I appreciate your telling us that. It's grandmothers are very deep in my soul as well.
Well, it's not about one-upmanship or anything like that. And I want you to know that, because I'm a little bit upset. Okay, I'm just going to go now because I feel like I know I've overtalked in the last 2 times,
No,
but
no.
it's been like opening a dike and an absolute avalanche coming from me, and I apologize for that. But
There's
I'm
no
not,
apologies needed, Deborah.
No,
yeah,
this
but
is
I'm
this
not
is what
talking
we
to try to dominate. I just felt very emotional when Skip was emotional too, and I wanted to connect with that. And
okay. I do want
there's
to
a
say
lot of
one more
intuition
thing
in
here,
my
though.
family. You know, there's the women are very intuitive, and um and and having your life saved because you listen to something, to that intuition, is a very important thing.
Surely. I just want to make sure I get in one more little thing, and that is, these are men's stories too, but my problem is I too am extremely intuitive. I'm in the 99th percentile of intuition when I take the Myers-Briggs. And so I don't get what others don't get. That's my problem. Okay. In other words, I see things that others don't even have a clue what I'm talking about. And, that's an issue. But what I would say is that all of these stories, both men's stories and women's stories, both are in all of us. They're in the ether that she talks about here. And obviously she wrote this book with a view to having a woman audience. And that's fair enough, because it's always been an extremely important book since it was published. There's no doubt about that in my mind. But it's also, although I am a man and have other stories, I have these stories as well. Okay. And I get that from intuition. And
Yeah.
so my intuition says we have to understand that all of us, both men and women, relate to all these stories, both men's stories and women's stories,
I
right?
think it's valuable to tell them while
Surely.
doing this, and and I'm not trying to outdo anybody.
No,
When I was
there's no such thing. Okay,
I just
this is
felt
a
a little
conversation.
upset because I felt like I was, being told to shut up. And
Who said that to you?
well, I hadn't finished, and like the thing is that, like, when your life has been saved and when she saved everybody's lives, that's a big thing.
Yeah.
It's a really big thing. And
Truly.
and my family has suffered PTSD from the war. And the things they went through was so extreme. And the intuition is the thing that saved her many times. So that's the relevance. I'm not criticizing anybody, but I just feel the need to say this because it's so important.
Yeah.
That we're telling our stories. And I'm sorry if I diverted on the punctuation and the copywriting, the text quality.
We're nothing if we can't be a forgiving group.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm really, really because, I lost my career over standing up for what was right about corruption. I came across organized crime in my job.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of malevolence out there.
You bet.
And there's a lot of attacks.
There is a malevolence. I had malevolence in my family, so I've not had a family at all. So, I understand CPTSD. I have that diagnosis. And I think that much of humanity has CPTSD right now through governments and all sorts of things, and watching the Gaza war and whatever. We're all in the same boat, love, I think.
Yeah.
And sometimes what we do is with the past, we take a snapshot of the past of a human being and we make it more glorious than it was when we're all leaving here at some point. We're all out of here, so we can.
Well, I don't think it's glorifying anybody when they say.
What did you say, Angie?
That just made me laugh. I thought, yeah, we are all on the way out.
We're on our way out. We're like that.
We've not got long left at all. We've got
that atlas. If that atlas hits the earth, we're all gone.
But Penelope, we're like butterflies. We've got a day in the sunshine.
I'm not
gone so quickly, and the older we get. I mean, I'm a woman now in her late 60s, and every year goes past quicker than the year before.
I know. Tell me about it. This year has gone very quick. This year has definitely
let me play this tiny violin. Because come Sunday, I'm going to be 79.
Oh my gosh! 3rd of October.
Yeah, the 5th of October. 5th. Sunday.
5th.
Yeah, 5th. Oh, I wonder.
Well, Deborah, I'm sorry. I was just trying to get to the end of the section. I apologize. I didn't mean to offend you.
That's okay. I just want people to understand me. That's all. And I wanted to share that.
We do. And
that's all. I'm not for recrimination or anything. And I've got because of so much trauma in my family, my grandmother and my mother both had narcissistic personality disorder, trauma-based. So I had to bring myself up, but I've clung to the positive things because that's so important, because I have to see them as people who weren't given the chances that I've got, like we've got this.
Yeah. So I want to end this on a high note.
Yeah.
And I last week I shared with you the image of my granddaughter playing lacrosse at age 16 and being recruited by USC. So she's going to go to USC in 2 years' time, and she's accepted the recruitment. But this picture of her is something new. Came in today. That's her when she was 3 years old.
Oh gosh.
What a girl she's become.
Yeah. Amen.
All right. Well, I have another Zoom meeting to go to, so
Peace, everyone. We'll see you. We'll
Thank
see
you
you
so
next week,
much,
and we'll
everyone.
continue at that point. And thank you so much, Penelope, for the PDF. I have to figure out a way to save it on my computer, but
Angie sent it to me.
oh, Angie, thank you for it then.
Skip, don't forget that link for the that I sent you about the health stuff.
Yeah, I have that. I
Good to
pulled that up.
research that before you speak to your doctor, because sometimes they want to do an operation and they're
Oh,
pretty knife happy. And so yeah, and happy birthday.
yeah, thanks. Well, I've had lots of operations, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, well, sometimes they're too knife happy, you
I
know.
know.
And,
I
so
worked
it's good.
in healthcare around surgeons for 40 years. So anyway, peace, everyone. Have a nice week, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.